There's plenty to discuss, but before we do, Eloise, were you one of the progenitors of the Tilburg piece that was referred to?
Not at all. Had nothing to do with it, nor the other one. But was very happy to see both of them. So thank you. Thanks for organising this. I think it's very timely. We don't have much time left, it seems, to influence the debate. Just in defence of development, to put a bit of context behind this discussion, the Lisbon Treaty did two major things. It did a lot more, but for our purposes, it strengthened development policy within it. It clearly set out that the Union's development policy should have the overall aim of the eradication of poverty. It also set up the post of the High Representative and set up the External Action Service, which should serve the mandate of the High Representative, which is also set out very clearly in that treaty. So, where I take issue with some of the proposal, the current Council draft decision, we agree that policy coordination is absolutely paramount. Development is only one of a range of tools. But I don't believe that policy coordination means that the High Representative has to have a say over the biggest development budgets of the European Union. So let's be clear about what we're arguing about here. Certainly, from one's point of view, we think there's a lot of good things that can happen in the External Action Service. But the main development budgets should really be about the prerogative of poverty eradication, and we firmly believe that in order to do that, they should be under the remit of the Development Commissioner. The reason why Article 208 exists, forgive me for a slight bit of Euro nerdness, stating that poverty eradication should be the primary objective of the EU's development policy, and is so that there's been a recognition that there is a specificity with development policy, and I think if we don't recognise that, then we really are going to be at odds with each other. Foreign policy and development policy sometimes do have inherent tensions between them. That's the whole point. And it's really why we're saying, unless you have a very clear chain of command over every single level of programming of the main development budgets, then you potentially open the door to the politicisation of those funds in the future. We're very conscious that this is not really about the current characters it's really good that Cathy Ashton has a positive approach to development, but two High Representatives down the line, that may not be the case. And all this about jointly working together between the Commissioner for Development and the High Representative, that all sounds very nice, but in reality, anywhere like that you have ambiguity, you potentially open the door to abuse. So where does that bring us on the need to modernise and the need to coordinate? There is a huge amount that the High Representative could do. In fact, in her role as Vice President of the Commission, she's clearly mandated with a coordination role. Actually, she'd be best placed to look at some of the ways in which the European Union is most ridiculously uncoordinated on the international stage, and that doesn't often involve the external actions budgets. It's about our trade policy, it's about the common agricultural policy, it's about the fisheries policies, which, while we are trying to sustain fisher folk in developing countries, we're also sending over our own ships to hoover up the resources. That is real policy incoherence. So actually, her role as Vice President of the Commission in coherence should really focus a lot more on the external aspects of internal policies that are completely incoherent with a lot of the efforts we're making on the world stage. All that to say, the External Action Service could be an excellent thing, but there is a reason why the development movement has fought for years and years to have a specificity and not to be subsumed into any foreign offices. NGOs in this country and many people in this room will have fought hard over the last 5 years when it became clear there may be a change of government, to ensure that DFID would definitely not be subsumed into the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. That was a huge fear of a lot of people. DFID is probably the world's most respected development agency for the results it produces and for the work it does. And you know, why in Europe would we go backwards when there's been a recognition that this is the way forward? And we don't want to see funds being diverted. Yes, there's a lot of poverty-stricken people in Afghanistan and Morocco, but we don't want those funds used for sweeteners, for border control agreements, or to satisfy other foreign policy goals. We want it to be focused, and I think, on those that need it the most, within the parameters of development policy, which is not humanitarian policy. It's not just dishing out the cash. There are inherently political parts to development policy, and there are governance criteria, and monies can get cut off if recipients don't play ball. So I guess what I want to underline is we don't have very long. This External Action Service is going to be up and running fairly soon. For a few minor changes in the current text, we could get an absolute cast iron guarantee that we would not have any risk of politicisation of the world's biggest development funds. So isn't it worth just having that guarantee?
Okay.